Hi fellow traders, welcome to another segment in the Master Trader series. We are talking about building consistency in your trading. We've come a long way. We have gone from building the foundation to building out the framework, and we're finishing building out our trading. We're finished building out the framework. After today, we'll have one more stop. We'll talk about adding strategies, the proper way to do that as we continue to get better, more consistent in executing our trades. And then you can see we're getting close to the top. And this is where everybody wants to be. We want to come in every day, be able to rinse and repeat. And all we're doing is doing maintenance to our trading. Any repairs, tweaks we got to make, and we just rinse and repeat. So we're getting really close to that. So today we're talking about building above average discipline and patience. I can add in patience to this. So we'll kind of review a little bit about having a prepared mind, what the emotional trigger number 2 was, and then we're going to talk about patience and discipline and taking a time out. So as we said last week, most people come in and attack trading with an unprepared mind. They have no idea what they're getting into. And one of the hardest things to get across is that we have to account for all of the things that could happen, might happen, probably will happen, and even the unknowns. And the only way to get prepared for that is to continuously put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And there's the bad word again that you're about to hear. The exercise that I give everybody in the roadmap to success. That exercise, if you can't do it, don't expect to ever be a consistently profitable trader. Just don't expect it. You have to be able to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. You have to be able to sacrifice 30 days at least to help yourself get to build that foundation so you can even get to where you need to be. Most traders now that I work with, they can make good trades. They know how to spot them. They know how to build a watch list. But they can't consistently be profitable. And it's all dealing with the mindset. Everything that we've been covering over these last 9 or 10 classes, these segments, has to deal with getting your mind right. And we talked about last week the emotional trigger number 2. The inability to accept responsibility for the results of your trade. We know we can't, make the market do what we want it to do. All we can do is make sure that we execute properly. And if it doesn't work, okay, it doesn't work. But whatever happens, if the internet goes out, if whatever happens, we have to accept responsibility for the result, regardless of if it's our fault or not. Because if we can't, that's going to cause us to start chasing. We're going to get upset, revenge trading, all kind of stuff that can happen. So that's why it's important to understand why we need to accept responsibility, and that us not being able to triggers some pretty bad emotions and resulting trading issues. So we talked about all that last week. If you want to get deeper into that and you didn't see the last class, the last segment, make sure you go back and check it out. I'll have the web address to the whole list of classes here. I've got them all together in a showcase, or I forgot what YouTube calls it, but a playlist. I've got them all in the same playlist. So first, let's talk about discipline, because a lot of us have different definitions of discipline, and honestly, there's 6 of them. You know, according to Webster, there's 6 different definitions to discipline. So the ones I haven't read are the ones that we need to focus on. Number 1, control gained by enforcing obedience or order. Key word here is enforcing. So how are we going to, we have to think about how are we going to enforce obedience to the order of our trading. That's something we need to think about. Orderly or prescribed conduct or patterns of behavior. Prescribed. Basically, those are things that we have laid out, our rules, that determines how we're going to act in the market. That's where that comes from. Self-control, self-explanatory. Now, punishment, this is another part. We look at discipline as being punished. Our parents disciplined us by punishing us, or teachers. We don't even look at that. But honestly, some traders do discipline, and so they do punish themselves when they make mistakes and when they break their rules. But we're not going to get into that, because some people do some pretty crazy stuff. So training that corrects or molds or perfects the mental faculties. It's another thing that we have to that we focus on. We do these classes. These classes are designed to correct the mistakes that you have, correct the misconceptions that you have, and it'll help mold or perfect your mental edge that you've got to have in this market. The right mindset is everything, if you hadn't figured it out yet. So field of study, that's when people say, what discipline are you studying? But again, that doesn't apply to what we do. But lastly, a rule or system of rules governing conduct or activity. So, how do we get these things into play? Just start thinking about that. We're going to get into that here in 1 second. I want to throw this in. What the definition of patience is. The ability to wait for a long time without becoming annoyed or upset. What happens when we become annoyed or upset? Our emotions are coming in. It's going to cause us to do some silly things, right? So patience is key. And patience, I think, is connected to discipline, because in order to have patience, you must be disciplined. The ability to remain calm and not be annoyed when dealing with problems. If your platform locks up, or if your internet goes out, or whatever you're doing, it messes up and it has nothing to do with you. Can you remain calm and not get upset? That's really, really important. The ability to give attention to something for a long time without becoming bored or losing interest. And honestly, if you guys have been with me for a while, some of the trades, and this happened last week, and I talked about it during the trade. I know what I was feeling. I was becoming bored. I was losing interest. I was aggravated that this thing was not moving. It was just kind of sitting around, not doing anything. I'm like, either move up and take me out, or follow through. Do something. And eventually that can happen. So you have to recognize that and address that. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But the number one thing that you can do to help build your discipline and to help you become an above average disciplined trader is to have a process. And I should have put complete process, because when I say complete, it covers you from the time you wake up until the time you call it a night from your trading. Okay, typically you want to wake up at the same time every day, and you want to have routine that you follow. Because what happens is, and you see it with me sometimes when I wake up late, I'm at the point in my trading where I'm able, for the most part, to stay focused, and I have a plan that if I do wake up late, and what things I can circumvent in order to keep on track. Eventually you will get to that point, but in the beginning you have to stick to this. This is another part of those things that most people don't want to do. It's like, okay, I'm going to do the stuff I want to do. I'm grown. I'm an adult. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to pick and choose what I want to do, what I feel is right for me. Okay, fine. But, let me know how that goes for you. Down the road, let me know if it worked. I haven't experienced anybody that it's worked for yet. The people that were serious actually came back and said, hey, I made a mistake. Let's do this the right way. But you've got to be a special person to be able to do that too. But you want to have that. Just think about what happens if you run late to work. The sequence of events that happens after that very rarely goes according to plan, unless you're that type person that you have done this enough to where you can work around it. For the most part, we tend to lose it. What if we go out to go to work and our car won't start? Okay, and it completely screws up the sequence of events that's going to follow. And are we able to deal with that in a rational manner, or are we going to get upset? Then everything falls apart from there. Typically, it just messes everything up. So it's important that we have that, and we have our order of execution for the day. How are we going to approach the day? Now, I'm not saying everybody has to have the same thing, but you need to have something for you to follow every day. You need to have something written that you could go through every day. That's going to create discipline. That you're not going to go off on the deep end. You're going to follow your plan every day. You have something to get you to where you need to be. Then eventually you're going to do it, and it's going to be, second nature for you to do it. So for me, I just kind of put this down. My order of execution is I come in and I scan the market for potential trade ops, and you know what I scan for first. All of this is written down. It would be way too much for me to put everything down step by step by step for this, when really it's something that you need to do. And you see what I do every morning anyway. But you want to have to write these things down. You want to make sure you have a checklist that you go through every day, and it becomes second nature. Because I do things now and I don't even think about it. So I may not even think to put it down here, but I do it subconsciously. But I scan. I'm looking specifically for stocks on earnings, and then I go from earnings to stocks that are analyst upgrades or downgrades. I'm looking at things. Then I'm looking at stocks that have a solid technical setup. And I go through that progression every day. That's what I go through. And then I vet the stocks to see which ones actually have potential, and I create that watch list every day. You can't come into trading without a watch list. Let's say I missed the whole morning. Let's say I come in at 10 o'clock. Well, I have a process that when I come in at 10 o'clock, what I do. But like I said, right now, you need to have your base process in place. And once you get that down, then we can start expanding. You know, we want to establish a watch list. You know, once we establish our watch list, then we're going to track pre-market. Oops, I just noticed this. It didn't. Spell check didn't catch it. Okay, establish a watch list and we track it pre-market to kind of see where it's going. So some stocks I drop from my watch if it moves pre-market and takes up the whole trading range. So that eliminates me having to watch a stock and get irritated with a stock that is out of play now. So I don't even have to worry about it. All right, so, you know, but then we establish rules of engagement. And that's our strategies. Okay, the rules of engagement determine when we enter a trade, when we execute, where we place our profit targets, where we place our stop. All of that has to be the same. All of that has to be planned ahead of time. And if you have it established, every time I get in a trade, I don't have to sit there and think. I already know what my entry trigger is. I know what my stop's going to be. I know where my profit targets are. I mean, all of that has to be done. If you have all of this written down and you're following this process, you are building your discipline. All right, but you have to stick to this. You know, that's where, you know, you building discipline comes in. There's gonna be times in the beginning that you're not gonna want to do it. It's gonna be hard to do. But most of the time you're gonna want to get this done. And as you see how well it helps you stay on track, you're gonna feel good about it. And last but not least, reflection. That's definitely something that you can't leave out, that most traders leave out. If you use the reflection sheet that I have. Now, all of this, guys, if you are in the community, you have access to the Trader's Mindset videos. That class, I go into detail with reflection. You have the sheet that I use to reflect with. And it's all about trying to understand what your emotions are at the time of execution. When you're trading, while you're in a trade, what your emotions are. What are you feeling? Because what did I say? What did I say back here? We have to account for all things that could happen, might happen, probably will happen, and the unknowns. All of this starts with the emotions that you feel in these trades and the resulting action that you take when you feel it. If you document it and you know what happens, then you'll be able to deal with it ahead of time. All right, so what happens? How do we deal with ourselves when something happens and we understand or we realize that our emotions are starting to affect our thought process? What do? We take a time out. Just like you think about a sporting event, and let's use football, college football, since it's football season. When a coach feels like their team is losing momentum, they're losing a grip on the game, or that their team is mentally and physically exhausted, they need a break, they take a timeout. All right, if they don't, they can get blown out. And if they lose control, a lot of times a close game is all about making sure that you stay in control and you can control the parts of the game that you can. If you give that up, it can be really detrimental to you and you probably can never get it back. So we have a couple of timeouts that we use in the trading day, intraday. One is a performance timeout, which is when we have multiple losers in a row, we hit our max loss. We have to stop trading. We have to take that time out. Okay, if we take our max loss and then we continue to trade, we could easily wipe our account out in one day. So we have to have that rule in place. That has to be a written rule that we follow, that when we hit our max loss, we shut it down. And you've seen me do that many times. Shut it down and walk away. But what we're going to focus on here is emotional timeouts. Okay, when we're sensing our emotions and we feel like it's creeping up. Let's say we missed too many trades. I don't know what happened here. Let's say we missed too many trades or missed a trade. And then we missed another one. You missed the entry. And we get frustrated. Then what are we going to start doing? We're going to start chasing. We're going to end up having bad entries. All right? And then we start taking the wrong setups. We let the entry get away from us to where we're not even trading the right setup anymore. I mean, when we feel that happening, we have to take a timeout. What happens when we get shaken out too early? You know, we get in, it pulls back, we stop out, and then it turns around and rips up, and we don't take the trade again. You know, how does that make you feel? When our platform screws up, like we're trying to get in trades and it's not getting us in, and then all of a sudden we're in and it's at a terrible price. You know, how does that make us feel? Are we able to put aside all of that, the emotions that come about, and make a rational decision? You know, same thing with internet issues. Or we want to take a trade, we see a beautiful setup and there are no shorts available. You know, or we on margin restriction and we can't get the size that we normally could get because of margin restrictions in place. Very, very frustrating. So when that happens, we have to take a time out. So the thing is, you set the time limits. It could be 10, 15, 30, 60 minutes, whatever you feel you need to do to regain your composure. Sometimes I have to just take the whole morning off and then come back in the afternoon. You determine what you need to do. And in some cases, you have to say, okay, if this happens, I need a 15-minute timeout. If this happens, I need a 60-minute timeout. Or if this happens, I need to take off the rest of the morning and come back for the afternoon session. Or take off the rest of the day. But only you can decide that. And again, this is stuff that you work on with your mentor. Somebody that's been there, done that understands what this is all about, that can help you determine how much time you need and maybe some things that you can do to help take your mind off of it. But the key is you have to remain consistent. If you do something that requires a 30-minute break and you only take 10 minutes, you know, you're killing yourself. So you have to stay consistent with the time. It all has to be written down, because if it's written, it's easier for you to follow. It's law. Once you write it down, it becomes law, and you need to follow And then you set the activities that you do during the timeout. For me, sometimes I have to walk around the house, or I walk outside and walk around in the yard. Or I have to find wood to chop. Whatever. I would ride my bicycle, which I haven't even put on the road this summer yet. But, things like that to help calm you down, to get you refocused. Because here's the problem. If you don't, you're going to burn up all your mental energy trying to deal with your emotions in the market, and you're going to dig a hole that you're not going to be able to get out of that day. All right, the only thing you could do is, you'll have to go into that Groundhog Day mode where you have all this stuff happen during the day, and when you go to sleep, when you wake up at 6 o'clock the next morning, it's a reset. Now the thing is, what you did the day before, if you killed your account, you're going to still have the consequences of that. But at least you're starting fresh from a new day, and we can go from there. So just using a timeout is really critical in this phase. This is going to help you to develop above average discipline. Having a process written out, and I mean in detail, that covers pretty much everything you can deal with, or that you might deal with. And how do you do that? You go through that exercise. If you spend 30 days doing it the right way, you're going to experience a lot of this stuff, and you're going to have a process to deal with everything. And you might need to do it 60 days. I've known a couple that have done it 90 days to get everything they needed to where they needed to be. Some of them had to do it because it took them that long to get enough money to put in an account to actually trade live, which worked out better for them. But, just because you have money now doesn't mean you have to start trading it now. You got to get yourself in the right frame of mind. You got to understand exactly what you're getting into and develop that right mindset. Because once you do, the sky's the limit for you. As long as you stay patient and continue to challenge yourself, smartly, it's going to happen. All right, so that wraps up that. Now we're going to finish up this section. We're going to talk about later in the week how to add strategies, the proper way to do that. One of the biggest mistakes newer traders make, or even traders that's been around 2 years, is adding and changing strategies and doing too much, when they can't even do one strategy right. So, we're going to talk about the right way to add strategies and how we should be doing it at this time. So stay tuned for that. All right, so we're going to kind of recap Friday's trade, wrap up the week, and get ourselves ready for the next week here. So I'm looking at the SPY. It pretty much did exactly what we were looking for it to do. It came down Friday, tested the 20-day, and now we're selling some more. We closed below the 20-day. We can actually confirm it tomorrow, and it could be making a move down to the 50-day and the bottom of this ascending support here. So right now, there's no swing trades I'm even looking at, no technical swings, because the market's pulling back. We're in phase 3. Phase 3, there are no trades. All right, so we're sitting back waiting. When we swing trade to the long side, we need phase 1s. what we see here. So that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for that phase one again. For day trading, just absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, I was out Friday morning and I missed the best day we've had in weeks. There was so much going on. Peloton, a beautiful, beautiful move. I mean, I can't believe how good Peloton made the move. Let's see, open. What's the other one? I'm trying to get the chart up here now. But in Apple made a really good move. I was able to catch some of Apple after that announcement. But it was an incredible day. An incredible day. Let's look at Peloton. I mean, this had a 2-day run that was just amazing. All right, but here's Peloton on Friday. Look at this. What we have not nailed this. Here's a 5-minute opening range high. Right, here's a pre-market high right here. Beautiful. I mean, absolutely incredible. Here's the re-entry here off of the or if you could re-enter if you're all out, or you can add if after you've taken profit right here off of red to green. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Apple, look, after the announcement, just crazy. And we're gonna look at my trade here in a minute, but I mean, look at this. What was the other one? I can't remember what the other trade was. Coinbase, beautiful. I mean, look at this. Opening range, bam. I mean, just incredible. But just happened to miss it. And that's, it is what it is. But we'll see. We may have a good day tomorrow. We talked this morning about some of the things that we need to look for that could affect the market negatively. And we looked at some things that could be positive. So if you missed the morning session, go back and watch the video. It should be posted on the website, on the swing trade page. So if it should be posted by now. So go back and check it out. Very slow earnings this week. Nothing on Thursday. We've got, this is the Canadian solar stock. We just have some lower price stocks. And we do have Oracle here. But just a lot of lower price stocks. Just nothing that we can hold our hat on. Manchester United. It's funny. But I sent all of this out. Our earnings newsletter out earlier today too, along with our market analysis newsletter. So you guys should have all gotten that by now. All right, so Friday, I was out in the morning, missed this beautiful move on Apple. This was the only one that was setting up when I got in. So I waited for it to bounce, took the channel break, hit the first target, and that was that. So I did get a little base hit on this, and then we kind of went sideways the rest of the day. I didn't force it. I came in late. I have, the process I come in is the same. I do the same thing every day. If I miss the morning and I come in the afternoon, I trade the same setups. Whatever stock, if we have breaking news or whatever the case is, I'm there. And we had it on Apple, but this was the only one that was doing anything. So we nailed that, and that put me for the end of the week 25.38.93. I was off Monday, not even a half a day on Friday, and had the best week I've had in months. Just amazing. Now next week doesn't look like it's gonna be any good, but we'll see. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. I know earnings wise, I just don't have the firepower there, but who knows? All of the stocks that we've been trading lately, Coinbase, Peloton, SQ, PayPal, who knows? Roku may come in. Who knows? The technical setups will probably be abundant, so we'll be looking at them more next week than anything else. So stay tuned for that. But that's where we are. Man, loving the equity curve right now. I haven't had a good pullback since back here in April and May. But we're gonna pull back eventually. We're gonna have a bad week, and it's usually the month before earnings season. So really looking for that's gonna happen. I'm pretty sure. But it's not out of character. I'm not calling it and bringing negativity into it. I'm just saying this is the market move. This is what the market does. So even if I don't pull back, it's gonna slow down. We know that. So I'll be looking for that as we continue on. And last but not least, there's one more spot. I don't know, it might be filled by now because a couple people said they want to do it. Once it hits 200, we're closed forever. It's done. So if you want to get it, the last lifetime membership, you better get it. It's already off the website, so you got to let me know and I can get you fixed up. All right, so enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of this Sunday, this beautiful weather, and I will catch you guys in the morning.